the lake needs buffer zones, where the water can still have a floodplain zone, or where the water, you can still know that there is no life in that area, so that you don't have to undergo any problem of loss of life. What happens with this 30-meter buffer zone, especially in cities like Bengaluru, where it becomes very important in terms of that there is flow of sewage also in that one, how to arrest, and if you want to do something around that sewage and other things also, you need some amount of space for all those things. So a lake having a very minimum buffer zone, even 30-meter buffer zone for a very big lake like more than 100 acres is small. So buffer zone is, or what we call it as the no construction zone, also depends, also if has other important functions other than flooding, that is also to create a microclimate area, or to see to it that we have other things wherein we can purify the water before it comes, or even to arrest silt, or to do all those kind of things. Because this KTCD Act is not only talking about urban but also talks about the rural. And if you go to the rural side, this 30-meter is where usually you have got something known as the Gomala. Gomala is something where it is cattle grazing area, where cattle are allowed to graze, and there will be, because of it's a buffer zone, or it's a no construction zone area, you will see a lot of grasses growing over there, and that is used by the cattle grazers and the cowherd and the shepherd people for grazing their cows and this thing. And what we are seeing off late is many of these lakes, even in outer village areas, are converting themselves into resorts around the lakes. Resorts are around the lakes. Big any other farm stays also are coming around the lakes. And we know this one, that this is the whole thing, if at all, if you are planning to change, the pressure is not from to help the poor, but the pressure is from somebody who wants to run a resort or run a farmhouse, or in the urban side, there is a builder one who wants to see to it that they can utilize this 30-meter areas for the more nearer you are to the lake, the more the money is. So you can have a balcony which is looking right down the lake, is something that many of people are preferring, especially those who are coming from areas where they have never seen a lake, and those are the people who are ready to give that big money to have their balcony which is more towards the lake. So that is where we are seeing that this whole thing of buffer zone, which is very important when it comes to, one is hydrology, then comes hydraulics. In hydraulics, how much water is coming, how much is getting pushed, and all those things. Next is geotechnical. In the geotechnical, this all are technical issues. In the geotechnical part, that is where they tell no construction zone, is because whatever construction is supposed to be done in this area, this one is supposed to be a very specialized construction, and you need expertise to do this. And what we see is many people, especially because this is going to cost you double, and there are chances many builders may not do what is actually necessary in a area of this kind. So there is a geotechnical issue also over here. So this is what we call it as, what we look at as a buffer zone, especially in different aspects. That's what hydrological aspect, hydrogeological aspects, hydrological aspects, then hydraulic aspect, and geotechnical aspect, and then comes the ecology and environmental aspect, and at last comes the social aspect also. So there are all this aspect that needs to be looked into before considering a buffer zone and other things, and that's what we should be looking at.
And what does the new amendment say? How much is the buffer zone being made?
So for the lakes now, what we are looking at is that they are planning to have different numbers, that within 10 acres they are looking at 0 practically. They don't want anything, and then it is 3 meter, then it goes to 10 meter, then it goes to 24 meter, and then it goes to 30 meters. So this is what they are talking about, a logic which they want to implement. However, it doesn't look like there's a formula. It looks more like trying to implement a logic without giving the reason for the logic. And this particular bill, we don't see all those kind of things being coming out. Until now, government has not released any of the technical details. that simply tells us that maybe the intention is not hydrological, not hydraulic, not geotechnical, neither environmental, nor ecological, nor social. It more looks like only one, that is builder mafia.
Okay. And NGT has already suggested that the buffer zone should be more than 30 meters actually. It should be around 45 meters.
That was a previous one where there was a court case and the NGT had suggested more bigger buffer zone, but the Supreme Court had told that NGT or the Supreme Court don't have jurisdiction to make laws. This is practically you are telling that the bill has to be just be taken off or whatever it is. So one of the things that it is not within the jurisdiction also. So the government has a right to make this kind of bills. At the same time, whether those things can be challenged in a court is something that is always open. But again, all those challenges have to be in a way that they cannot just go against the law. The law is still, it is 30 meters. So within 30 meters, all those things we should be able to look at. But reducing this one to different parts and telling that there is a logic behind this, we are actually not seeing any logic behind this. Neither scientific logic, nor engineering logic, nor environmental logic, nor sociological logic. We are not seeing any logic or reasoning behind this. Unless until this are presented to us, we will have to always think that the reason or the purpose behind this is to help the either the resort mafia or the farmhouse mafias who wants to build it right near to a lake, or all the in urban space, all the others who are owning and because one of the most prime properties you will find anywhere in India or the world itself is right next to a lake or next to a river, and they are the most prime properties, and that is what we are saying here also. And that is how it is more like trying to help those people, those who are having big lands and builders and developers. It more looks like helping them rather than helping a farmer or trying to help a poor person to build their homes in their this thing. We can make a law that again, if this law was going to tell us that you can only build a certain kind of because this is a no construction zone. That's what I've been trying to tell you, that this is a no construction zone, and it was not foolishly told that why you cannot construct. So there is a geotechnical reasons behind it. Yes, there are technologies to build, but are they going to follow the technology? If it is like that, have we done the law for that? That if you are going to build here, this is the way the building should happen. And what is the checks and balances? Tomorrow, if you are going to build a 24-floor building over here, and if it falls and people are going to die, will the present lawmakers be responsible for all those things? One example we can give you, which everybody will know, is Manatha Tech Park. Valley was a no construction zone. So now we have constructed inside the valley. Now every year you are getting flooded. Loss of property, until now there is no loss of life, but loss of properties have been happening. And you can imagine what is going on. So now who is responsible for this? And will they take responsibility if tomorrow a life goes in Manatha Tech Park because of drowning or flooding? Who is going to take responsibility for this one? When it is very clearly told that valley zone is a no construction zone, and we change the law. See, the laws can be changed. We can keep on doing that. But nature is not going to follow your law.
And especially when it comes to cities like Bangalore, which is already flood prone, this reduction of the buffer zones could it increase the possibility? The
reduction of the reduction of the no construction zone buffer zones for lakes and for Rajakalways, both, will 100% increase the flooding risk. Not only increase the flooding risk, there will be new flooding areas. So our question has been, did the department, whoever was releasing this, did they take consultation from KSNMDC, that is Karnataka Natural Disaster Monitoring Center? Is there a report by them that by doing this act, will there be a reduction in flooding or will there be an increase in flooding? They have not released any reports as such. Whatever studies as such what we could do, It simply tells, yes, there will be heavy increase in flooding, and looks like the bureaucracy and the government want that one only, because moment there is flooding and other things, you don't have to go and do any Transparency Act goes for a toss. Accountability and Transparency Act, that means tenders can be given to anybody and everybody in that areas and other things to clear up the nalas or to clear up and do other things and all. You can go for more funding because there is a flooding happening over here. So the recent 3,600 crore that is coming to Bangalore city for flood resilience, and this reduction of Rajakalve buffer zone and lake buffer zone simply is contradicting with each other. We are getting a loan, we are taking a loan, that means every person in Karnataka is going to repay this loan. We are taking a loan of 3,600 crore from the World Bank, and what are we doing with it? We are reducing and we are going to increase the flooding, so that we can keep on taking more and more loans, it looks like, because you don't get loans simply like that. You need to have something, some reason. So more flooding means more loans will be approved. Taking a loan and then doing this, first of all 3,600 is the loan that we are taking to as a flood mitigation loan, as a flood resilience loan, and end of the day we are coming up with reducing this buffer zones and other things and all, which is contradicting each other. That they are one hand they are trying to reduce the flooding, on the other hand they are trying to increase the flooding. So all this, whatever we are going to spend, may cancel out with each other. But here most of the channels of whatever feeder channels we are calling it as, or Raja Kalve is what we are calling it as, 50% is filled with sewage water. The remaining 50 only is the carrying capacity now. So with those kind of things happening, whatever we may be trying to do, we cannot have a 40 feet depth nalas running around Bangalore. So that is not the way it happens also. We may be able to do it, but that is not the way it happens. So if we are looking at reducing the nala size or reducing all those kind of things, because in many places nala itself is reduced. So this feeder channels, what we are calling it as, which are feeding into other lakes, if they are carrying sewage, then you need to keep on, and this one again can overflow. And if you are maintaining whatever the depth is now, there are chances this will overflow, and then this overflowing will obviously create more and more flooding.
And also the smaller tanks, they have been completely sidelined. Zero buffer zone has been proposed. How important are these smaller tanks to the hydrology of the city, and how can...
When we look at the hydrology and hydraulics, both, why I am talking about hydrology and hydraulics of the smaller tanks is because these tanks, in a way, local flooding is taken care by them. So now for us to actually look at the purpose and functionality of that particular lake is very, very important. If that lake is doing groundwater recharge, if that lake is taking care of rainwater harvesting, and that small ones, even 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre, 5 acre, whichever it is, even those small ones are very, very important. So many of the BDA layouts which are getting now, many of the BDA layout, this kind of small ponds are being closed and they are converted into plots. So that is another bigger issue that we need to look at. Forget, having the bigger lakes and all are somehow surviving. 30 acres, 40 acres and all, somehow everybody's eyes are on that one. So they cannot easily encroach. But at the same time, the smaller one, what we call it in Kannada as kuntes, Kunte, Gokatte, Honda, all these small ones, which are maybe 4 acre, 3 acre, 5 acre, 8 acres, all these things are being encroached upon by BDA itself. So with that kind of a thing happening, you don't have rainwater, you don't have groundwater recharge. See, there has to be a local groundwater recharge also. You cannot just have one big lake somewhere and think that no, that lake will going to recharge for whole of the city, and it doesn't work like that. So we need local water sustainability, and it looks like for us, these governments are not interested in local water security or local water sustainability. The reason being, then everybody is independent. Everybody has got a well at home, or everybody has got source of water at home. They are really not going to be, our water will not become a point for voting. Now, if you want water to become a point of vote, or it has to become a point of wherein it is also one of the things, then you have to be dependent on that. Just like how we are dependent on electricity, right? So like that, one of the reasons that you don't see many governments not pushing too much of solar power and other things where the house becomes independent is one of the reasons is that the political wings don't want you to be totally independent. They want you to be dependent so that can be used as a whip or something to keep on either telling that, if I come, I'll give you free water. If I come, I'll give you water reduced price. Or if I come, I will reduce your electricity price. So one of the things that we have to, all as citizens, we have to know is water, energy, electricity, all these are making us their slaves. That is where we have to understand that here is a chance wherein you can do good rainwater harvesting, have your own water security, see to it that there is good amount of groundwater recharge happening, so that end of the day what you have got is a good local water sustainability and security. And you don't have to bring water from 200 kilometers or 150 kilometers, and then totally the pipe water is dependent on somebody opening it, somebody closing it, and your water will be opened if you have voted for them, if your water will not be opened because you did not vote for them. So this kind of things, if citizens want to be out of all this kind of things, the best thing is that you are totally away, or you have made your plans for grave water recycling and rainwater harvesting, so that you are means as much as possible you are out of their clutches.
And talking about small lakes, can you quote any examples of smaller lakes that are encroached, and how a particular place is affected because of that in Bangalore?
So one of the places I would like to tell where half encroachment has happened is Karnataka Lake. Half the lake is practically, 3/4 of the lake is practically encroached in different formats, whatever formats it is encroached. And we are seeing the lower area gets flooded. So if that is one example, like Karnataka Lake is one of the examples. Now whatever remaining of the lake, they have done a good job of trying to protect it and other things. But again, such a huge lake, a big piece is encroached by BDA itself. Others are encroached by a playground, rest are encroached by temples and commercial establishments. Whether it is whose this thing it is serving, we don't mind. But there is commercial establishments that are inside the lakes. So this is Karnataka Lake for you. So one of the examples that we would like to give, that when it comes to this kind of things, Karnataka Lake is one of them. And there have been quite a few kuntes. Kuntes, when I call it, is that smaller ponds or all those kind of things. Especially the Nadaprabhu Kempegoda layout, which has come up, and that is again built by BDA. There what we are seeing, there is quite a good amount of smaller lakes which has got this thing, and it keeps on flooding there. The next one is our ISRO flooding. ISRO is because that is Lottegollalli Lake, not Lottegollalli, I mean it is Nakshatalli Lake. So that is another lake that keeps on getting into trouble every now and then. And you will see that there are quite a few which were smaller ones, which were all encroached upon or just taken over and other things. Now Shivaram Karant layout is another layout which there are a lot of this small ponds which are getting again encroached upon and all those kind of things. So we are seeing, these are the areas which we are seeing that there is importance is not given for smaller water bodies, which can really act as a very good rainwater harvesting and groundwater recharge points, which are that ecological services or environmental services it is providing, which you cannot even compare with the kind of money that it is bringing in by converting it into a site or converting it to something. We cannot even compare those ecological services that it will give for decades together. We are forgetting that, and we are looking at that small, that it is, even if it is converted into a land and it is going to give you 10 crore, but the worth that if it is a lake, it is remaining as this thing, the amount of groundwater recharge and maybe even flood mitigation, it will run in thousands of crores. And this is across the country now. It is just not only Bangalore which is doing this. Across the countries, there is a total disregard for smaller water bodies. And clearly this amendment shows that the present Karnataka government is again disregarding smaller water bodies. That is number one. Number two, having in 2018, the very same government led by the very same chief minister, having done the repealed KLCD Act and having held on only to KTCD Act, and also bringing an amendment of building roads, bridges and allied constructions within the lake. Now doing this amendment, simply that chief minister is going to go down the history of having passed 2 bills during his tenure to kill the lakes of Karnataka.
And what could be the long-term effects of reducing the buffer zones and open?
That's right. Long-term effort is one thing is going to be that the microclimate which all these things could bring in. We are now going to go and mess up there also. That is number one. Number two is flooding. We are going to have new flooding areas, which KSNMDC may tell after some time which are the new areas that we are going to flood again. Because all these bills we are saying that they may be even KSNMDC or Fisheries Department or Hydrology Department, nobody has been consulted. So this looks with no consultation documents being put about. We are seeing that this whole document itself is without any proper scientific base and scientific, or else let them put it out and we are ready to give the we may accept it, we may reject it. That is another issue. But at the same time, technically, if these all are the technical ones, there is a procedure of passing a bill. Consultations are objections and consultation from the public are called after the assembly passing or before the assembly passing. So that has become a bigger question now. Now here, the assembly has passed, the bill is sitting in the governor's office, and now they are asking for objections. So does the government mean to tell that public, yes, we understand that this is democracy. I would like to thank the present CS for that one. That after an assembly passing a bill, we have been asked to raise an objections, which in a procedural thing is the most stupid, foolish thing that a government can ever do. Because objections are asked before it even goes to assembly. An MLA or an MLC is supposed to be given all those documents to take clear, informed decision whether they want to vote or they want to vote for it or they want to vote against it. So without calling for an objection, they have just passed this bill. The present government or any government would want that people are dependent on, citizens are dependent on them for giving them water. A government would want that, but at the same time, as citizens, we should look at how we are more independent. And we are free to always think freely and vote whom we want, not based upon our, all this, energy or all this kind of things, which are very basic for our needs.
And also when it comes to buffer zones or no construction zones, it is important scientifically when we say that some certain amount of land should be left, and reducing it is basically allowing people to encroach into the lakes. How could reducing buffer zones increase encroachment? Already there are encroachments with the recent whatever the buffer zone that is proposed now. When it is reduced, how could it increase the encroachments? And so how could it benefit builders and builders?
Now itself, with a 30 meter buffer, no construction zone being there, buffer zone being there, we are seeing the amount of encroachment has happened with impunity. Now reducing it in some of the places is going to become zero. That means one fine day you will find people are again extending 3 feet, 4 feet into the lake itself in the first floor. So that is what I am seeing. Now, there are houses and other things with no strict laws being there, no strict implementation of this laws being there. Our expectation is everything will be built so badly that tomorrow we will be seeing coming right at the at the boundary of the lake, but also extending 3 to 5 feet into the lake of their first floor and the upper floors, not the ground floor. All these things we need something that I am waiting to watch and see that this is how, because then that will become right. You are like the water is right under your feet, kind of. This is where we are seeing that this may happen, and that is when there are chances that tomorrow there is water rising, houses will get flooded, first floors will get flooded, or even they may go up other thing also. So we have to see that these are our very very important zones for flooding, and there are chances that you are always at a risk. Nobody, whoever is living in that area, is going to live peacefully. So peace of mind will be lost, and that can cause a good amount of this thing in the mental issue hospitals also. So I'm foreseeing all this kind of things happening. So this reduction is, one thing is letting off all the people those are encroached now. So that will happen on one side, where all those are encroached, because of the new law they will be let out. So it looks like to let out quite a few, and then there will be others who will not work, who did not follow at that time, will not follow the law now also, and rather than respecting that, even that 3 meter or 10 meter or 24 meter, will start encroaching that one also.
As you mentioned, one is the issues that the apartments will be facing because it's built next to the lakes itself. And another thing is that near Rajakali ways, the slum settlements that are near the Rajakali ways that are already included, even the slum settlements that are put up by government itself, like adjoining the walls of the Rajakali ways. How could they get affected?
No, that's what I'm telling. If it is going to be one floor and all, technically they should not have pressure on that area. But now you want to suddenly remove the slums, and within that nearby area only start building this 3-floor, 5-floor buildings and other things where you can place them and other things and all. Again, same issues we are going to land up with. When it comes to a small slum where you have built it with, with very, very light material, this is not going to affect, geotechnical doesn't even come there. Only hydrology and some amount of hydraulics will work there. This is all permanent constructions, and this permanent construction in a buffer zone or in this no construction zone area is going to be a big concern.
Okay. Yeah. So you are saying it won't be,
including what we are talking about, roads also, which are going to be on the on the nalas, which the other places that they are planning to do roads near this thing along the Rajakalways and other things. We have to be very clear that the roads will get flooded, so don't keep on crying about it. You may be able to use it at certain time, at a certain time you will never be able to use it. Future, we have to sit and watch how many times you are able to, how many months you are able to use it, how many months you are not able to use it.
But flooding will become prominent in those settlements.
Yes. Now flooding are going to become very, very prominent. We can expect Bangalore to be, writing stories about flooding, and I am very sure within another 5 to 8 years, everybody is going to get used to flooding. And everybody will be, we know that, this rain means flood is going to happen. And I think so people are, whatever we are seeing, why we are talking about, activists are talking in this tone, is because citizens themselves are not interested. They want to buy and they want to be in that property. And at the same time, they are not ready to understand and, tell that, they need a better space for themselves. They need a better environment for themselves. And as a duty, they are not ready to, save their own environments. So that's what we see. Our generation, this thing is over. But the next generation, our prediction is you will suffer a lot unless until the next generation understands that they also, like we fought for something, they also need to fight for ecology and environment now. If our generation fought for roti kapda makan, now this generation, it is not just roti kapda makan, you have to fight for good air and good quality water to be drinking. And that good quality water should not come from 1,000 kilometers. It has to come from as local as possible, so that you are not becoming water slaves.